Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining on a Sunday evening. You're welcome to the GOPIO Health Talk series. Today we have Ms. Pradha, who's going to talk about exercising your way to a healthier heart. So the definition of health in the WHO Constitution says that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So Singapore as a nation is concerned about the well-being of the citizens and came up with a national initiative called Healthier SG, focusing on preventive health. The key aspects of this initiative is to provide all-rounded support to lead healthier lifestyles and see better health outcomes, right? You also ensure the empowerment to take charge of your own health. So GOPIO Singapore plays an important role as a community organization. It wanted to create this awareness, not only to the Indian community, but the community at large. And hence came up with this Health Talk series program. We have conducted few in the past, and this is fourth in this series. So this Health Talk plays a pivotal role in promoting knowledge, awareness, and proactive engagement in maintaining personal well-being, right? So we talk about various topics. We had something on nutrition, we had diet, we had something on eyes, joints, bone and joints. And today it's on exercising your way to a healthier heart. So without much ado, let me hand this over to our Vice President, Mr. Chandra, who's going to deliver his presidential address to the session. And over to you, Chandra.
Thank you, Tim. Good evening, Ms. Pradha Rajoo, Senior Principal Physiotherapist, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today for GOPIO Connect's monthly talk series. Let me just give you a short introduction of those attending our talk for the first time on what GOPIO is all about. And for those regulars who have actually attending our meetings, please bear with me for a minute. Okay, GOPIO Singapore, which stands for Global Organization of People of Indian Origin, Singapore, was inaugurated in 2002 and is a registered society under the Register of Societies in Singapore since 2001. Our main objective is to connect and engage with the Indian diaspora of people of Indian origin. Over the years, we have organized numerous networking sessions, business forums, youth programs, health talks, and cultural events to foster a sense of community and promote mutual growth and understanding. In addition to our initiatives, we have also forged collaborations with various GOPIO chapters from different regions, including Malaysia, India, Mauritius, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Indonesia, Thailand, Reunion Islands, Suriname, South Africa, France, Belgium, and many other countries. We have almost 40 chapters worldwide. Together, we have organized international such events such as GOPIO International Business Forums, GOPIO International Green Initiative Programs, GOPIO International Conference, and more. These events serve as a platform for exchanging ideas, fostering business opportunities, and addressing global challenges faced by the Indian diaspora. At GOPIO, we strive to strengthen the bonds of the people of Indian origin worldwide and work towards a shared vision of prosperity, growth, and cultural enrichment. Our collaborations and events transcend geographical boundaries, reflecting our commitment to building a unified global community. This year, we are celebrating our 21st anniversary at Grassroots Club on 30th July with a fundraising dinner. As part of our monthly talks, like what our MC had mentioned, GOPIO Connects, we have organized numerous engaging events, including business talks, health talks, and motivational talks. Today, we are delighted to bring to you a special guest speaker to discuss a unique and essential topic for today's GOPIO Connects monthly talk series, exercising your way to a better heart. The health of our hearts is of utmost importance, and this talk aims to provide valuable insights and practical guidance on how exercise can significantly impact heart and health. So with that, I will hand back to Mr. Tam to introduce the speaker. Tam?
Thanks, Mr. Chandra, for the welcome speech. So before we go into the actual session, let me introduce Ms. Pradha shortly. She has many laurels to her name, and she has achieved a lot. I'm not going to say everything. It will take another 1 hour to discuss that. Okay, so maybe I'll just briefly introduce Ms. Pradha today. Ms. Pradha is a senior principal of physiotherapy. She graduated with a Bachelor of Physiotherapy from Melbourne, Australia in 2004. She later specialized in MSc in Advanced Cardiopulmonary Physiotherapy from the prestigious University College, London in 2008. She is an allied health professional council recognized physiotherapist with 18 years of working experience. Having worked in Tantong Seng Hospital for 12 years and NHC Polyclinic for 5 years, she is currently in rapid physio care for more than a year. And she has a strong interest in helping people in need and takes great pride in doing so. One of her biggest achievements would be working with the surgical ICU teams in TTSH to pioneer the early mobilization program. This helped to reduce deconditioning of patients in the ICU. This project was so successful and that it was implemented in other ICUs as well. Apart from working in the ICU, medical, respiratory, surgical wards, Ms. Pradha has conducted cardiac rehabilitation, pulmonary rehabilitation, and vascular rehabilitation, and weight management classes. Along with her experience as soft and empathetic nature, caters to even the most complicated patients. One of Pradha's greatest strengths is her versatility. Having worked in NHC Polyclinic, she is well versed in treating musculoskeletal programs as well. She's a strong believer in holistic care. Over the many years in public health care, she has been a clinical educator to many students and coached many junior and senior physiotherapists. Given her approachable nature and all-rounded experience, she has always had excellent feedback from her students and peers. Ms. Pradha always keen to keep up to date with latest evidence and practice in physiotherapy. Given her enthusiasm and passion for physiotherapy, she has been invited to multiple conferences to present a physiotherapy-related topics. Her motto is, "We should not merely exist. We should live our lives to the fullest." And she believes in helping her patients to achieve their best potential so that they can live in their lives to the fullest. Some of the achievements are she certified in DMA clinical pilots in 2019. She featured in Straight Times and Leonie's about showcasing efforts in early ICU mobilization in 2013. She was awarded HMDP fellowship to Johns Hopkins Hospital, Baltimore, USA, and University of California, San Francisco to further knowledge on early ICU mobilization in 2011. She was also a faculty member of Singapore Trauma Conference presented on Journey to Normalcy After Trauma in 2010. Received scholarship to Harvard University, USA to learn about application of simulation in medical field. Pioneered the simulation in physiotherapy education in TTSH. Developed curriculum and educated junior physiotherapists to suctioning technique and preparing them for ICU using simulation technology in 2010. She presented research study at NHE Annual Scientific Congress, won Best Oral Presentation Award in 2009. She was appointed the Deputy Unit Head of Physiotherapy Cardiopulmonary Team at TTSH 2009 to 2016. She was also a TTSH ICU committee member from 2009 to 2016. These are some of the key achievements of Ms. Pradha. So it's a huge list, as I said. So without much ado, let me hand over to Ms. Pradha for a session on exercising your way to a healthier art. Before that, just want to let the audience know. So please mute your mic. And if you have any questions, put it on the chat. We'll consolidate. So we have roughly around 1 hour of session. If there are any Q&As, feel free to unmute and ask your questions. Whatever questions you put it in the chat, the Zoom, we will take it up. We will consolidate. We'll ask on your behalf as well. Okay. Thank you. Over to you, Ms. Pradha. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tam, and thank you, Vice President, for the introduction. I was really short of stopping you halfway because it was getting a bit long. And yes, in fact, 18 years of work just moves past very quickly in a blink of an eye. Yeah. So thank you very much. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be able to share with everyone about this topic, a topic which is very close to my heart. Exercising our way to a healthier heart. Yeah. All right. I firstly want to thank all the audience who have gathered today. I understand it's a Sunday, and to be here on a Sunday to share, your time with me here, I really, really appreciate it, and I hope that you'll take away some good points from today. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, some of the things I would like to share with you all today would be the importance of exercise in the prevention of heart problems, the type of exercises that can help with a healthy heart. It's also important for us to know the right dosage of exercise so that we know whether are we exercising sufficiently to get benefits that we want to see for our heart. And I want to include a little bit of a practical session so that we can all have a little go at measuring our own heart rate and also how to calculate our own target heart rate so that we know whether we are exercising effectively or not effectively for benefits of the heart. Okay, just a few things that you can prepare. Some of the things would be a piece of paper would be good, a pencil or a pen, and a calculator. That is so that when we come to the practical session, you would be able to calculate your own target heart rate a bit easily. Okay, I'm going to share with you this slide. Okay, this gentleman, Mr. Dick Van Dyke, he's a true inspiration. He said, right, in my 30s, I exercised to look good. I guess a lot of us can relate to that when we were in our 30s. Yeah. In my 50s, to stay fit. In my 70s, to stay ambulatory. Yeah. In my 80s, to avoid assisted living. Now in my 90s, I'm doing it out of pure defiance. What attitude, right? Like such a inspiration. He's just exercising because he's doing it out of defiance and he's in his 90s. I want to grow up to be just like that. Yeah, and I think a lot of you here can relate to that as well. Okay, now I'm going to talk about heart disease statistics in Singapore. I know it's not good, we as Indians, to start off talking about death, and my mom is not going to be very happy about this, but I still think it's important that we know what is the statistics of heart disease in Singapore and how much of it is contributed to, or total number of deaths, and how much of it is contributed by cardiovascular diseases, okay? So if we look at a time span of 2019 to 2021, we can see the total number of deaths is about 21,446 to about 24,292. But out of these deaths, the total percentage of death that comes from cardiovascular diseases is gradually increasing over the years. In 2019, 29.3% of total deaths were from cardiovascular diseases. And in 2021, we can see that 32% of total deaths were actually from cardiovascular diseases. So we can see why the importance of us having to look after our heart and try and bring this number down would be important. Okay, if we were to look at heart disease statistics amongst Indians, and why am I highlighting this is because we are in a GOPIO talk, a talk for people of Indian origin. So I think it's really important that we look at it by ethnicity itself. We can see the incidence rate of acute myocardial infarction, which is actually heart attacks, right, by ethnicity. If you actually were to pay attention to just the Indian CIR, which is the green line, you can see, right, that the number from 2010 to 2019 itself, the number of incidents of heart attacks are increasing amongst all races and Indians too. But if we were to look at it, the Malays and the Indians tend to have much higher numbers compared to the Chinese. Yeah. So this is definitely an area of concern for us. Yeah. And for us to also understand why is it that we need to pay a bit more attention to it. If we were to look at the age distribution, we can see that those who are in the 60s tend to get it a little bit more compared to the other age group. So that is another thing for us to take note of, just so that we know which population, at which age group are people more likely to have heart attacks. Okay. Now, when we talk about cardiovascular diseases itself, we are talking to conditions that relate to the heart or blood vessels around the body, including blood vessels of the brain. So, coronary artery disease itself is very common. And what does coronary artery disease mean? It just means that the blood vessels that are supplying the heart with oxygen is actually obstructed. And how does it get obstructed? It can get obstructed with either blood clots or atherosclerosis. So what is atherosclerosis? It is actually the damage, when there is damage to the inner wall of the artery, in cases of maybe high blood pressure and things like that, there tends to be an accumulation of fatty deposits known as plaque. And when this plaque ruptures, blood cells tend to accumulate in the area, and that tends to form a clot. And when that actually happens, it ends up blocking the artery, and that doesn't allow the blood to flow through normally. And when that happens, people tend to have what we call atherosclerosis. Yeah. Another common heart issue would be heart failure. One of the reasons why people get heart failure is due to coronary artery diseases as well. There are certain conditions that can develop one's risk of getting heart failure. People could be born with it, so they call it congenital heart defects. People could have had previous heart attacks before, and that can predispose them to getting heart failure as well. Some people tend to develop irregular heart rhythms that can also lead to heart failure if it is not addressed on time. High blood pressure can also cause heart failure. Certain conditions like anemia, hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism, emphysema, which is more of a lung condition, can also lead to heart failure. Certain types of medications or use of drugs can also lead to heart failure. In heart failure, it's a bit different to heart attack, right? And I'm going to explain to you how is it different. So, heart failure, right, is the inability of the heart to pump adequate supply to the body because the heart tends to get distended. So it's not functioning as well as a normal heart muscle should. So you tend to have a little bit of a weakened or a stiff heart. Heart attack, on the other hand, right, is called myocardial infarction. And it's one of the causes of heart failure, okay? And in this particular situation, when there's a heart attack, the blood supply that normally goes to nourish the heart with oxygen is suddenly cut off. And therefore, some tissues of the heart actually do not survive. They get what we call ischemic, not enough oxygen, so they kind of die. And so they don't function as well. Now, there are many risk factors for coronary artery disease, okay? Age is one of them, yeah? The older we get, we tend to have a higher risk of developing coronary artery disease. Gender, male more than female are at risk of developing coronary artery diseases. A woman tend to have a higher risk after menopause compared to earlier on in their lives. Yeah. Family history of the disease. Yeah. So, for example, those who have diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, they are all at higher risk of developing coronary artery disease compared to someone who is not. Obesity is also a risk factor for developing coronary artery disease. Lifestyle habits such as smoking can definitely put us at risk of developing coronary artery disease as well. But what I want to draw your attention to is physical inactivity is also one of the risk factors for developing coronary artery disease. And the reason why I want to point your attention to this is because it is something that is changeable. It is something that we have full control over and we can make changes to it. We can't make changes to our age, we can't make changes to our gender. Yeah, we can't make changes to the fact that, women will menopause at a certain age. But definitely the fact that we are physically inactive, we fully have control over it and we can make changes in that area. Why is physical inactivity such a big issue? So what if we are sedentary? Unfortunately, being sedentary comes with certain consequences, yeah? Some of the general consequences, sedentary lifestyle can increase the risk of dementia, yeah? It can increase the risk of cardiovascular diseases, increase the risk of atherosclerosis, cause hypertension. In terms of the blood vessels itself, it can definitely help reduce what we call the shear rate and peripheral blood flow. So it reduces your blood flow, yeah. In terms of diabetes itself, when we're talking about insulin, it increases the insulin resistance. If we are very sedentary, our muscles can become weaker. And as we age, we naturally have something called sarcopenia, which is the wasting away of muscles. Yeah. And what we will do when we're sedentary is we will speed up the process in which this happens. Now, this is an article from the Straits Times, and it says Singaporeans sick from sitting. So, by actually just sitting down, what we realize is that our risk of getting heart diseases increases by 147%. Yeah, 147% is a huge risk to take from just being sedentary. Yeah. So what are some of the benefits of exercise? Okay, exercise helps to lower our blood pressure. It helps reduce the risk of developing diabetes. It decreases our risk of having adverse blood lipid profile. For example, cholesterol and LDLs. It decreases the stress hormones in our body, but also helps reduce depression because it releases all these happy hormones for us. It reduces the risk of cardiovascular diseases. Of course, when our blood pressure is lower, when the risk of developing diabetes is lower, when our blood lipid profile is better, the risk of cardiovascular diseases is going to go down immediately. It reduces the risk of early mortality, meaning early death. Okay. It definitely reduces the risk of cancer, Exercise has been known to reduce the risk of falls, especially in elderly. It helps maintain healthy body weight. It also can bring your good cholesterol up, which is your HDL, increases your good lipids in your system. Okay. So, a lot of you may be in this position. You can understand this. I exercised once and it nearly killed me. Yeah. So, it's very common that people exercise or they try exercising, but they're not sure where to start or what to do to start. Yeah. So, they may want to have, they have good intentions. I want to start exercising, and today I'm going to go for a run. But then, halfway through it, you're like already panting and you're like, I can't deal with this anymore. Yeah. So it's completely understandable. So that is why I'm here today to take you through how to exercise slowly, steadily with a clear plan and monitor yourself in a wise way so that you can get good benefits out of this. Okay. So first of all, when we start exercising, we want to understand, what does exercise mean to you? It has to be something that's personal to you. Yeah. So is it because you want to get a good sweat? Lots of them like to have, a nice good sweat and they feel good at the end of it. And that is what exercise means to them. Or is it a way for you to have fun, socialize, meet new people? Yeah. If that is what exercise is to you, then that's great. Is it time that you spend with friends, family, loved ones, or your pets? Yeah. Are you doing it because you want to stay healthy? Are you doing it to lose weight? Or is it something which you do because you enjoy the mental benefits out of it? For example, you feel really relaxed after an exercise session. Some of us exercise to earn rewards. For example, the National Step Challenge and things like that, where you can get nice vouchers at the end of it. It doesn't matter what your reason is. What's important is that that reason is yours and that you are unique and you can choose whatever reason that works for you. And I think it's really important that you recognize this reason as well so that you can stay true to exercising and continue on with it. Now, there are many different types of exercise. There are endurance exercises. Endurance exercises are things like walking, running, swimming, aerobics, dancing. All these are endurance-based exercises. Then there is resistance-based exercises. This is weight training. For example, you can use free weights like dumbbells. You could use resistance bands. You could definitely use gym equipment if you have access to them. I personally love using things around the house like flour bags or, rice bags or cans of beans and things like that. Resistance training can also include calisthenics. Calisthenics means using your own body weight to do exercises, like, for example, push-ups, pull-ups. The other kind of exercises will be flexibility-based exercises like yoga or dancing. Balance exercises are exercises like Tai Chi or Qigong, where you are actually forcing yourself to be put on one, try to weight bear on one side and then move to the other. So those are balance kind of exercises. And then, of course, there is agility exercises, things like parkour, where you're jumping from one side to the other. Or, you're trying to use a step ladder and like step through it and do different types of agility movements. Those are agility exercises. So as you can see, there is a wide variety of exercises. Okay, all right. And in order for us to have a very balanced lifestyle, we want to have a bit of everything. Okay. But of course, when you're talking about the heart itself, we tend to focus a lot more on endurance and resistance exercises. Okay? Does that mean flexibility, balance, and agility are of no use at all? I'm going to say that there are two things here. One, it may not have a direct impact on improving your heart condition itself, but it definitely would be good for you in terms of maintaining an overall healthy lifestyle. Okay? Now, we're going to have a little practical session right now. I'm going to get you to get your two fingers out, all right? And I want you to put it on the inside of your wrist or just under your jawbone. Try and locate your pulse, okay? All right. If any of you are having difficulty with this, you can let me know. What I want you to do is you're going to measure your own heart rate, okay? And this is, I would consider that you think that you are actually sitting down and resting right now and not doing anything too active. So because of that, this will be called the resting heart rate, okay? So I want you to count the beats for 10 seconds and then multiply by 6. So that will let you know what your heart rate is in a minute. Okay? Mine is obviously beating a lot faster than it should, but that's because I'm nervous while I'm giving this talk. But if you're just relaxing and listening to this talk, I think it should be not too bad for you. Okay? All right? Okay. Why is this really important? Okay? Whenever you're exercising, before you start exercising, it will be important for you to know your heart rate. Yeah. While exercising as well, it'll be important for you to check your heart rate. And after exercising, if you're not well, then of course it'll be good for you to measure your heart rate and to take it. These days, people come with digital watches which measure their heart rate for them. Yeah. So it is a lot more easier. But for those who do not wear these digital watches which have heart rate and things like that, it's always good to be able to know how to take it manually. Okay. Now, this is when your paper and pen and calculator would come in really handy. I'm going to do a very practical session with you in teaching you to calculate your own personalized heart rate zones, okay? In order for us to know how much we are exercising and whether we are exercising at a safe zone, there are many different calculations that are around. Yeah, but this is the most basic one, which is easily applicable by everyone. Okay, so it's important that we first know what is our maximal heart rate. Okay, in order to calculate maximal heart rate, we take the number 220 and we minus our age. So for example, if you are 40 years old, we take 220 minus 40. So your maximal heart rate will be 180, 220 minus 40, right? So it's 180, okay? So I want you to write down what is your maximal heart rate. So 220 minus your age. Okay, once you are done with that, what we are going to do now is we are going to tabulate the percentage of training intensity. Okay, now you don't have to do all of this 40%, 50%, 60%, 7%, but at least try and do one of it so that you will know how to get to your percentage of training intensity. So for example, if you are doing, if you have never exercised before, and this is the first time you're going to start exercising, it is important that we don't start off at very high levels of training intensity. Yeah, it will be good for us to start off at about 40 to 50% of training intensity. So how do we calculate 40% training, our heart rate at 40% training intensity? We will take the 220 minus h, the maximal heart rate, right? We take the maximal heart rate and we times it, multiply it by 0.4. That will give us 40% of the training intensity. And what should our heart rate be at that level? So what does this mean? This means that if I've never exercised before and I am starting exercise now, I want to go for a light walk or a faster walk or so, I want to keep my heart rate at about 40% training intensity. So 40% of your maximum heart rate. Okay? If you, on the other hand, are someone who does stay fit, you think you are relatively fit, you have been doing a little bit and now you want to do more, you want to start off with about 60% training intensity. What you would do is, you will take your maximum heart rate, which is 220 minus your age, and multiply it by 0.6. Okay, all right. You need to be careful, okay? Why you need to be careful is if you are on any high blood pressure medication, a class of high blood pressure medication called beta blockers, yeah, that would lower your resting heart rate itself and your heart rate when you are exercising, okay? So when you are on beta blockers, just be mindful that, whatever number you get may still be a beefed up number. So you need to exercise at a lower level of intensity compared to the number that you see there. Okay? Because your heart rate may not respond as fast to exercise because of the beta blocker medications. Okay? Okay. Now, coming back to the intensity of exercise itself. Okay, so in a resting zone, we call it resting zone. We only work at 50 to 60% of our max heart rate. Okay, in this zone, we tend to do exercises which are a bit more lower level in intensity. Okay, such as a casual walk. Our warm-ups and cool-downs are usually around this resting zone, which is about 50 to 60% of our max heart rate. There is really not much health benefits or, calorie burning in this zone because it's too light in this zone, yeah? But yet it is important for us to do this in order for us to warm up or cool down, or for someone who is just starting exercises for the first time. It's best to keep us a little bit lower, so we're going to start off in this zone. So people will say, then what is the use of doing it, right? Yeah. So what I'm going to say is it's better to do something in this range than to do nothing at all. Okay. So it really does not have great cardiac benefits, but it's better than doing nothing at all. Okay. Now, the next zone that you will go to will be a little bit of a higher level. Yeah, we call this a moderate zone. This is 60 to 70% of max heart rate. And at this level, we are doing a lot of walking or jogging at a slower pace. Yeah. And this helps to improve the general fitness itself of a person and improves the endurance. And at this level, we can get a little bit of calories burnt. And it does have a significant impact on improving your heart health. Okay, so for someone who is comfortable, we should start off with 60 to 70% max heart rate when we are starting to exercise. Now, this is really the golden zone, yeah, the aerobic zone, okay? This is about 70 to 80% of max heart rate. We are talking about a lot more vigorous intensity exercises at this level. We're talking about running, cycling, weightlifting, swimming, which is done a little bit more rapidly. And at this level, we tend to have better aerobic fitness over time if we are very consistently working at this level. We will tend to have better endurance as well, and cardiovascular fitness and muscle strength at this level, yeah. And with aerobic exercise, you generally will burn a lot more calories in a shorter amount of time. Now, this is what we call the anaerobic zone. This is 80 to 90% of max heart rate. This is very high intensity exercises, such as running or cycling very quickly or lifting heavy weights. You may feel out of breath at this level, and your body will start to burn carbohydrates for energy. And you may also start to produce a bit of lactic acid, which will cause your muscles to feel a bit sore the very next day. And you may not be able to sustain doing exercises for a long time in this zone. Okay, all right. And honestly, if you are starting off exercising, it will not be encouraged for you to be working at 80 to 90% of your max heart rate, because it may be a bit too much for you. So it's always wiser to start off lesser and build your intensity of exercises to get better benefits. Yeah. Okay, this is the max heart rate zone, which is 90 to 100%. So this is, for example, sprinting as fast as you can, yeah? So generally, you will not be able to sustain this for more than a few minutes. So things like high interval training, yeah, HIIT and things like that, where you alternate between short bursts of max intensity and moderate intensity will be more realistic when we are exercising in this zone. All right. So we're going to answer the question that we had set out to answer right at the start. How much should we be exercising for benefits to the heart, right? The American Heart Association recommends the following target heart rate zones. So for moderately intense kind of activities, we're talking about 50 to 70% max heart rate. So I'm going to revise again. Max heart rate is 220 minus your age. So 50 to 70% of max heart rate. And for vigorous activities, 70 to 90% of your max heart rate. Always start lower and build your way up. Okay. Now, what is the right dosage of exercises? Yeah. So how much should I do? How many times a week should I do? How many minutes should I do it for? Okay, so I'm going to give you answers to that. In terms of aerobic exercises, it would be advisable if you can do it about 3 to 5 times a week. Okay, all right. And how much should you be doing? I'm going to introduce RPE, which is a rate of perceived exertion. I'll go through it in the next few slides. You want to do it where you are exercising at a somewhat hard level. Yeah, so you don't want it to be too easy because it's not going to give you any benefits to your heart. You don't want it to be too difficult because that's not going to be beneficial for you either. Yeah, you want to still be able to speak a few words, But if you can sing a song while doing it, then you're not working at a good enough level. It's just too easy for you. Okay. Each session should be about 20 to 30 minutes at least, so that there is some carryover effects to your heart. In terms of a week, right? If you are going to be doing moderate aerobic activity, like a fast walk, a light jog, about 150 minutes a week is recommended by the World Health Organization. If you are going to be doing a vigorous sort of aerobic activity like running or cycling very fast, then 75 minutes a week should be sufficient. So things which are aerobic, walking, jogging, cycling, swimming, dancing, these are all aerobic exercises. Start at a light intensity and gradually build up to a moderate and higher level intensity. When it comes to strengthening exercises, what is the right dosage? Okay, 2 to 3 times a week. So why is it for strengthening it's only 2 to 3 times a week? It's because when we do strengthening exercises, we need to have a day of break in between, because the muscles need to rest and recover before it's ready to load again. If we strengthen like daily, there is no off day in between, the muscles may not have enough time to recover. It might not be able to function optimally the next time you try and strengthen it. Okay? So, how do we know how much to do? Intensity. We want to lift a particular weight or use a particular resistance level and be able to do enough to tire your muscles after 8 to 10 repetitions. So for example, if I'm carrying like 3 kilo weights and I am able to do about 15 of it, then 3 kilos is too light for me. Then I might want to try 4 kilos and see at what level do I feel tired after about 8 to 10 repetitions. So that would be the maximum that you can do for that particular exercise. Just because your biceps is 4 kilos, it doesn't mean that when you try and do your triceps, you're also going to be 4 kilos. So you might want to see if you are able to lift more weight at a different for different exercises as well, or lesser weight for different exercises. Okay. All right. So sometimes it will be helpful to like write this down so that you can always when you're going to increase exercise the next time, you will then know for that particular muscle group how many kilos did you do. Okay. And once you can do about 8 to 10, you need to be able to do 3 sets of it in order for you to get a strengthening effect. Okay. These exercises can be free weights, weight machines. You can, like I said, even use your own body weight to do it, like squats, planks, lunges, pull-ups, push-ups, yeah. And you want to do the same thing. Start slow and build it up. All right. How do you know that you are exercising at the right amount? So a simple way is doing the talk test. Yeah, can you talk? Can you hold a conversation? Yeah. If let's say you can string a few words, then definitely you're working at a good level. But if you can't even speak 1 to 2 words, then most likely you're working at a lot more of a vigorous intensity. Yeah. The other thing is to monitor your heart rate. We went through how to monitor heart rate just now. And then perceived effort is what I'm going to talk about next. So this is called the rate of perceived exertion. So when we're exercising, you want to work at a level that is challenging to hard. Yeah, so about like 5 to 6. If it is very easy or easy, then we may not be getting good health benefits out of it. Or if it's very hard, Are we overworking ourselves at this point in time? So it's something for us to take note of. So it'll be good to start off with about a 5 to 6. So if you were to ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling? You should say, it's challenging, it's hard, it's really hard, but I don't think we should be going to a point of very hard to maximal when we are starting off exercising. Another scale in which is commonly used is called the Borg scale of rate of perceived exertion. It goes from 6 to 20. Yeah. Any idea why it's 6 to 20? So the reason why it is starting at number 6 and not at number 1 is because that's a Borg scale, right? Came about because they wanted it to correlate with the heart rate. So at resting, the heart rate is usually about 60, right? So which is why they put it as a 6 and they start off with a 6. So while exercising, if someone feels that, oh, this is somewhat hard, right? They should be rating from somewhere from 6 to 20. They should be rating it about 13, 14, around that level. So which is why they came up with this Borg scale. It doesn't matter which one you want to use, whether it be a Borg scale or the commonly used 1 to 10 one. You can even stick with the 1 to 10 scale, but you should be working at a level which is challenging to really hard. Now, some of the general guidelines to exercising, right? It's important that we always warm up before we start exercising. Our heart needs to warm up. Our skeletal muscles need to warm up. So it'll be good to spend a good 10 to 15 minutes doing warm up. Warm up could start off with very simple static stretches like stretching your neck, stretching your arms, your shoulders, your big muscle groups. And then you can move into what we call dynamic warm-ups. Dynamic warm-ups are exercises which are done at a lighter level. So for example, just marching on the spot to get your heart rate up a little bit more before we start exercising will be considered a dynamic warm-up. Once we're done with our static stretches and dynamic warm-up, you can move on to your actual exercise, which is known as the conditioning exercises. This can be your walking, your jogging, running, swimming. And then once you're done with all of that, please spend another 10 to 15 minutes to cool down. So cooling down can be done by doing your dynamic stretches earlier, but in a slightly slower fashion. So you can go back to march. After you finish your run, don't stop straight away. You can just continue to walk slower or march on the spot a little bit to bring your heart rate down. And once you're done with that, don't forget to do your stretches to cool yourself down and to also to cool your muscles down as well. Yeah. Now, one of the common tools that is used is PARQ. And what is this used for? This is used to see whether you are fit enough to exercise without any doctor's advice. Yeah. So what this PARQ does is it asks you a few questions. Have you ever has a doctor ever said to you that you have a heart condition? All right. Or do you feel any pain in your chest when you do physical activity? In the past month, have you had any chest pain when you were not doing physical activity? Do you lose balance because of dizziness, or do you ever lose consciousness? Do you have any bone or joint problem that could worsen with physical activity? Or is your doctor currently prescribing any medications for your blood pressure or heart condition? Or do you know any other reason why you should not do physical activity? So if you answer yes for any of these questions, it would be strongly advisable for you to see a doctor first before you start exercising. Some of the general advice before you start exercising is, of course, if you're on any follow-up for any medical condition like diabetes, blood pressure, kidney issues, please get permission from the doctor before starting any exercise program. If you are unwell, do not exercise. We can definitely leave exercise for a day when you're feeling better. You're also going to be able to perform a lot better in the exercise. Wear comfortable and appropriate footwear and clothes for exercise. Getting proper shoes which have good tread work in the bottom is good when exercising so that you don't develop blisters in your foot and you don't have risk of falling as well when exercising. Make sure you drink enough water before, during, and after exercise. In a country as humid as Singapore, we tend to lose a lot more water than we think we do. So it's really important that you keep yourself hydrated. Make sure when exercising, you're in a cool and safer environment, and try not to exercise outdoors when it's too hot. So general recommendations would be to exercise before 10 in the morning and after 5 in the evening. Yeah. And please stop exercising if you're unwell, giddy, or if you have any pain. And if you are unwell after resting, please see a doctor. Generally, when we exercise, yes, we are going to feel like we're panting a lot more and things like that. We may feel a bit breathless, but when we stop, these symptoms should settle. So it's important that we pick up signs of heart attack as well that, could potentially happen. It can happen anytime, but it's important that we know what these signs are. So for example, if you feel chest pain or pressure or neck, jaw or arm pain, shortness of breath that is not settling even after resting, and unusual fatigue more than normal, heart palpitations or dizziness or lightheadedness, feeling like you're going to faint, nausea, indigestion. So these may be signs of a heart attack. So it's important to pick these up and respond by going and seeing a doctor immediately if you do feel any of these things. Well, why am I touching on this topic is because, a lot of times people always worry about starting exercise because of news of sudden cardiac death. Oh, I read in the newspaper, people were exercising and they suddenly collapsed and they died. Yeah. So I think the reason why I wanted to share this is because I wanted to let you know the risk of sudden death during moderate to vigorous exercise is one death over 1.5 million hours of exercise in men and one death over 36 million hours of exercise in women. Yeah, they can happen, but the occurrence of it is really low. Yeah, so that should not be a reason to stop you from exercising. Yeah. And if you really think about it, a lot of these episodes occurs in younger athletes, younger than 35 years old, and it is not due to heart attack. It is mainly due to underlying structural heart abnormalities that the person may have had, which they did not know about. Okay? And the risk of heart attack during exercise is more common in people more than 35 years old. But the truth is, regular exercise reduces the risk of getting heart attacks. Okay? So how are we going to be more compliant towards exercise? We want to set goals that are SMART. What is SMART? Okay, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time set. So you want to be very specific. What do you want to do? So if what you want is, I want to exercise such that, my doctor has said my LDLs, my cholesterol is very high, and my doctor has said it's high. I want to, by the next time I go and do my blood test, I want to make sure that that level comes down, my cholesterol level comes down. Have a goal. So be very specific. Yeah. Make sure it's measurable. Like, in the case of cholesterol, yes, we have numbers. Or, if you want to talk about weight, you can talk about weight. Or you could just keep it measurable in terms of the distance. For example, I am going to start by walking 1 kilometer in the next 1 week, but by 2 weeks' time, I want it to be 1.5 kilometers. Yeah. So keep it measurable. Make sure it's achievable. It has to be something that you can achieve, and also specify how you will achieve it. Like, it will definitely help you in terms of getting there, and it'll also help you be motivated about seeing the results as well. Be realistic about it and set a time frame. Yeah. And keep your time frames realistic. It's not easy when we're starting off exercising, for us to get to what we want to get to. Moving from walking 1 kilometer to 2 kilometers seems like a very small thing, but it is actually a big achievement. Yeah. Well, this is something that we commonly hear all the time. I have no time. Yeah. Okay. So make it a part of your daily life if it is difficult for you to allocate time to do it. So, for example, things like using the stairs instead of the lift, or stopping 2 bus stops early and walking the rest of the way. Or, if you drive, parking the car in the car park, but walking 2 rounds around your block before you get back home. These are ways in which we can make things a lot more applicable to our daily life. Instead of like sitting down and watching TV, trying a stationary bike, putting a stationary bike and just pedaling away might help. Or while you're listening to the Zoom meeting, just standing up and marching on the spot, or using a resistance band and trying to work your arm muscles would be things will be ways in which you can apply these exercises into your daily life for someone who's really busy. So I know it sounds very cliche to say, when there's a will, there's a way, but if you put your mind to it, it's definitely doable. Okay, so there's something called the best day to start exercising is today. Tomorrow can turn into weeks, months, or years. I'm sure all of you here can relate to that, and you know what that means. So for today, why don't we start with a simple walk before you go to bed, but try to apply some of the things that you learned today, like measuring your heart rate before, while, and after walking. And also see at what target zone of your max heart rate are you in when you went for your walk today. Yeah. All right. I've come to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for your time. I am very happy to take questions, or feel free to share your thoughts on the topic, and I'll be happy to answer.
So thank you very much, Ms. Pradha. That was very informative and insightful, particularly for me as IT professional who was always sitting in a chair and doing some work. The first few slides you showed, saying sitting is also a kind of inactivity, and that will also cause some health issues, right? Particularly the heart ones. So that was something which was useful, and I have a lot of things to ask, but let me leave it to the audience first to ask their questions. We have so far received a few questions, a couple of questions on the chat. Let me mention that. First is from Mr. Simon. In terms of risk of developing heart disease, is there a certain weightage attributed to family history versus, say, physical inactivity?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Right. Awesome. In terms of risk of developing
it's
heart
bit
disease,
feeble. Can you increase your volume, please?
okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah. How about
Okay.
others? Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay. Okay. In terms of developing heart disease, is there a certain weightage attributed to family history versus, let's say, physical inactivity? So once again, right, more than weightage itself, right, I'm going to say that there are certain things that we can change and there are certain things that we can't change. So there's certain things like family history, which we don't have much control over. Yeah. So it is something which I really don't have much control over, versus physical inactivity is something that I actually have control over. Yeah. So I would say, yes, the weightage would definitely go a lot more to physical inactivity, basically because we can make a change in that area compared to family history. Yeah.
Okay. Simon, are you there? You want to ask any further question? Is that clear? Okay, next is from Ms. Jayanti Naidu. How about stretching or warm up? Can we do it daily?
Yes. Okay, that's a very good question. So things like stretching and warm-up exercises and all, you definitely can do it every day. Some patients will say, oh, how about, just light weights? Can I do light weights every day? Yeah, you can definitely do light weights every day because you are not working at the maximum level that your muscle can work at. Yeah. So yeah, so things like that you can definitely do on a daily basis. Like I said, exercise has to be something that is relatable to you. If you're someone who feels that, it will be better for me just to do milder exercises, lower intensity, but on a daily basis, because I can be more compliant to that, then it's perfectly fine to do that. It's better than not doing anything at all. Yeah. All right. But of course, if you want to really work for heart, for cardiac benefits, then we are talking about working at a different percentage, right? That is when we're working at a higher level. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Pradha, for that. Ms. Jayanti, have any other question in this?
Nope, I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you. So there's another one from Ms. Leela. I have exercised like running, walking from age 20. At 75, I've slowed down to just walking. Is this fine? No serious heart issues.
Yes. Okay. So, right. It's amazing that you are still walking. Hi. It is amazing that you are still walking and wanting to walk as a daily exercise. There is nothing wrong with that at all. I'm very sure that the fact that you used to run and do a lot of walking all the way from your younger years would really keep you fit even now. In fact, continue walking, because as we age, our muscles tend to break down. Yeah, we call it sarcopenia. We tend to go into frailty, and that is, the reality. It's life. Everyone goes through this. Yeah. But what you are doing now is you are reducing how quickly your muscles weaken. So you are trying to slow down the way your muscles are going to weaken. So continue on with that. Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Hope
In
that
fact-
answered your question, Ms. Leela.
In fact, start lifting a little bit of weights as well. Start lifting a bit more weights as well. If you can, you don't need to get big dumbbells or anything like that. Things around the house which you can find, flour bags, bean bags, yeah, and just start lifting them just to increase the strength of your muscles as well. Yeah. And at the age of like 70, you don't look 70 by the way, but yeah, at the age of 70, also start doing some balance exercises as well, like standing on a single leg and, you know, trying to hold your balance. If you can, even trying to do like step ups and step downs and things like that, trying to challenge your balance a little bit. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Pradha. There's another question. I think it was very useful when you shared the stats, right? You provide some data on how fatal is heart attack in general, like 37% or something, and then when you talk about Indians, how it's increasing and all that. So I think the question is related to that. One of the questions from Ms. Mel, right? So the question is in terms of the heart attack incident breakdown by race in Singapore that was shared earlier, do you know if the difference is because of genetics or something cultural, maybe like food or something?
They are all contributing factors. Yeah, definitely genetics is there. It could also be the food as well. Generic to all of us, the exercise or the importance of exercise in the community itself. So it's multiple, there are multiple reasons, yeah, which were laid out. At the end of the day, just like I said, some things are within our control, but some things are beyond our control. Yeah. So things like genetics, we don't have much influence over. Yeah. But things like food or things like physical inactivity, exercise, those are things that we have control over and we can make a change in that area. Yeah.
Okay, good. One related question is the reason for higher cholesterol among Indians is also because of the diet.
Yes, I think yes, definitely. I mean, we have good food, right? Yeah, in our community. So yes, I think yes, one of the reasons could be the diet, but I may not be the best person to advise on the diet part because you know I'm a physiotherapist and exercise is my forte more than diet is. But yeah, diet is definitely one of the reasons. Watching what we eat is important. Balanced diet is really important. Yeah, and I'm just going to leave it as that. Yeah, but definitely exercising will help counter the effects of, you know, your risk of coronary artery disease for sure. Yeah, or cardiovascular diseases.
Okay. That was from Mr. Simon as well. Simon, is that answered your question? You have anything else related to that? Okay. Anyone else wants to ask any questions? You can unmute yourself and ask directly if you are in a conducive place, or you can also put it in the chat. I can ask on your behalf.
Okay. A question here on yoga exercises for heart health. I do not have any hard evidence here for yoga exercises for heart health specifically. But generally for heart itself, we are talking more about aerobic and strengthening exercises. Yoga is definitely great in terms of maintaining your flexibility you know, to a certain extent strength as well, but more flexibility, I guess, and that definitely helps with you having a better overall physical fitness. But whether it targets the heart or it has great heart benefits or not, I don't think there is enough evidence right now for me to say yes. Yeah, but if yoga is something that you like doing, definitely, like I said, it's all about balance, isn't it? Yeah, having a healthy heart is important, but having a good balance in all areas is also important. So aerobic exercises, if you can do aerobic exercises 3 to 5 times a week, yeah. And then, of course, with weight exercises about 2 times a week. And then if you can, just add in flexibility 1 to 2 times a week. Just, a few asanas here and there. Yeah, and just to try and increase your flexibility, it would be great for you as well. Yeah.
Okay. So how about the breathing exercise in yoga? We have pranayam and all that. Would that help only lungs, or it also help to some extent the heart and pumping?
Okay, I'm not a yoga expert at all. As you can see, my master's is in cardiopulmonary physio. I definitely think there would be some benefits to the lung. I can't comment on whether there will be benefits to the heart or not. Yeah, but I think in terms of, the breathing exercises and inhaling and holding, I can imagine that there are going to be some direct positive effects on the lung itself. Yeah.
Okay. So in the current work culture, right, most of us, not only IT, but most of us working in a corporate office, used to be working for more than 5-6 hours continuously, right, over a period of time. So what exercise do you suggest for them who always sits and takes calls and work in a computer or in an office space?
Yes. Okay. Nice question. And you saw that slide on sedentary lifestyle. I'm guessing you were terrified after seeing that slide, which is why you're asking me this question. And I think it's a very fair question. Majority of the workforce is actually seated for about 5 hours non-stop, and then after that they go for their lunch break, and then they come back, and then they're seated for another 4 hours non-stop at least. Yeah, so certain things that you can do while sitting down itself, right? Without making it very obvious to the rest of the office that you are exercising. Things like marching on the spot while sitting. I'm actually marching on the spot while talking to you right now. So things like that you could do, and that helps, get your heart pumping a little bit more. Other things that you can do is keeping water bottles, 1.5 liter water bottles in your desk itself. If you can have 2 of them, you can just use it to do some push-ups with the water bottles, or taking it out sideways with the water bottle, doing some bicep curls with it while you're seated itself. Other simple things that you can actually do is sit to stand, like get your arms across your chest and just sit to stand about 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, as just to break up the day. What you could do is most of the time, once you start working, chances are you're going to be really engrossed in work and you're not going to do it. So setting a simple timer in your phone, right, at maybe an hour into work, and just a little ting, and that will remind you okay, stop, yeah, just move around a little bit and come back, if you can't do an hour, at least 2 hours. Something is better than nothing. Yeah.
Okay. I've seen some of my colleagues or raise the desk and keep standing and working. So standing and working is a form of activity would suggest to avoid sedentary.
Yeah, standing and working. So these days, the work culture, standing desks have become very common. So, a lot of people like to stand and work. Standing itself is still sedentary, isn't it? So as much as it improves your posture and you're holding your back in a lot better posture and your neck in a lot better posture, it is still quite sedentary if you're just going to stand still and just type. So what you could do to actually make it even more effective is maybe pushing yourself up on your toes as you are standing, or even marching on the spot, every half an hour, just a little bit of a march on the spot, or, even 10 jumps before you just get back and do your work. Those are things that you can do. Other things that you can do are things like resistance bands. Resistance bands are so small, they even fit into your purse, your handbag. Yeah. So just taking them out while meetings are going on, just to even like pull and get some resistance and working your shoulder blade muscles, or even just trying to pull and just trying get your arm muscles working. Those are a few things that you can do. You can even like tie it around your thighs and try and open up your legs while you're sitting down, and that works the side of your hip muscles. So those are some very practical tips on how we can just get some form of exercise done while you are seated at work.
Thank you. That was useful. Thank you. So any other questions from the audience? So how do they reach out to you? You have any Instagram or Facebook link? Can you add that in the
Yes,
chat so that they can...
I think I just had shared my screen just a while ago. Let me see if I can put it back on again. And yes, they can definitely reach out to me on my email. It's called, it's pradha@rapidphysiocare.com. Or they could call the clinic number, which is over there as well. And they can definitely send WhatsApp to that number. And yeah, I will respond back to them. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any social media link you would like to share to the audience?
You can just Google Pradha Rajoo, and you can find my contact on Rapid Physiocare website itself. Yeah. And if they just contact this number or email me, I'll be happy to respond back to them. Yeah, immediately. Yeah.
Okay.
If you can just take a screenshot of this, you can easily reach out to me. Yeah.
Okay. So they can reach out to you for any consultation, for any physiotherapy needs and all that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll be happy to help. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was good. So any other questions from anyone in the audience? So that was very useful, Ms. Pradha. Actually, your presentation was very what to say. It has a good flow, starting from the numbers and explaining why exercise is important, what is the importance of the keeping our heart in a healthy condition, and what all things we can do, because so far people always used to think the walking to some distance will help to improve the heart condition and all that. But when you said only if we do 60 to 70% of the MHR kind of exercise will help cardiovascular health and all that. So that was useful. So a lot of information, and a very useful one. So if there are no further questions, probably I'll hand over to our Vice President, Mr. Chandra, for the vote of thanks. Chandra, over to you.
Right. Thanks, Dan, for that session, for conducting this session. Right. I think, like I've seen in the chat group itself, I've seen a lot of them congratulating, and also, they mentioned in the chat that, Ms. Pradha, you presented very well. I also agree with them. Your flow and the way you presented in a very slow pace, and that's very impressive. Thanks for that presentation. Right. And also, I'm also very impressed with one of the participants here earlier, who mentioned that she's 75, and she's also still, and she asked you for her Insta page. I'm very happy with that. Seeing that, the person at 75 is in the modern trend of using the social media. That's very impressive. Thank you, Ms. Leela. And okay, but before I, come to the actual thank you note, I would like to actually thank Ms. Pradha, for actually sharing with us today, the insight of the way of taking care of our heart, not by means of medication, but means of, some simple physiotherapy exercises and all those things, right? So a lot of questions were asked whether, yoga was one of the things that was also asked by members in the participants here. Right, we did have some yoga sessions conducted previously by GOPIO Singapore, and there were actually some of those yoga sessions were specifically relating to the heart. If you all have a chance, probably you can just check when we release the videos in our YouTube channel. We will be actually, you can actually take a look at them. Right. So with that, I will once again, I would like to thank Ms. Pradha for sharing your insight on this hard matters. And I also like to thank Sam Shanmugam for actually putting this talk together for GOPIO Singapore, together with Madam Sylvie, who actually recommended Ms. Pradha to GOPIO Singapore. And all participants who actually came on board for this evening sessions, despite being a Sunday and an evening. So I'd like to thank every one of you for joining us today. Right. And if there's actually any questions that you want to ask, you can actually put it in the chat itself that we can actually reply. Or for subsequent talks that GOPIO is conducting, you can actually, if you want to know, you can actually put it in the chat and your email ID, then we will reach out to you. Else, you can also visit our website, okay, gopio.org.sg, or just Google it, GOPIO Singapore, and you'll find that. So with that, I'd like to thank all of the participants as well as Ms. Pradha and also Tam for this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chandra.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Pradha.
Thank you.
Sorry, thank you, Ms. Pradha. Thank you, every one of the audience who have taken your time to attend this usual session on a Sunday evening. Thanks a lot. So Health Talks also serves as a platform for fostering a sense of community and promoting peer support. So the interactions create a supporting network that can aid individuals in implementing and sustaining positive changes in our lives. So please connect to each other, share, join GOPIO sessions, join GOPIO as a member. We'll conduct some more health talks, right? So please be connected with us. Thanks, Ms. Pradha, for a very wonderful session. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. See you on another Health Talk series. Thank you very much. Thank you.